Hello, I'm Tim Harris. This is Julie Harris, and this is Real Estate Coaching Radio.
That's right. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any future episodes. Thanks again for popping by. Hit that like button, and don't forget to leave your comments and questions so we can get right back with you.
We will. Thank you for continuing to make our podcast, Real Estate Coaching Radio, the #1 listened to podcast for real estate professionals in at least the United States. And let us know what you think about this video. Leave your comments below. Thank you. Welcome back. Today is part 4, and what we're doing is we're sharing with you ideas, a plan, a system on how to make at least $100,000 in the first 100 days of 2024. I say at least, and I emphasize it because many of you, that's a very easy goal to accomplish, and so you need to increase what that number is going to actually be. Now, you have great momentum in first quarter. It is going to set you up for a fantastic rest of your year. You have crappy momentum in first quarter, and then you're trying to build momentum in second quarter. You're going to have maybe 1 or 2 good months, and the rest of the time you're going to be, rebuilding and building. If you have suffered from ups and downs in income, it's because you did not start the year with enough momentum. And by enough momentum specifically, we mean leads. We mean listings. We need, AAA motivated buyers. We mean that you need to be hitting the ground running in January, not in March or April.
That's exactly right. Well put. So again, $100,000 in 100 days. Adjust accordingly. If you're already on track for that, maybe you increase your goal.
And this is day 4. And so if you want to listen to the previous 3 days, obviously you can go to Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. If you want the full notes, because I know that someone told me that iTunes is clipping some of our notes, that's fine. Go to our main website, timandjulieharris.com, and click on podcasts. And then all of our notes there, and they're not clipped. In other words, you can see everything that Julie and I are looking at. You can look at as well. We do encourage you to use these notes for coaching and training of your own team, your brokerage, and whatnot. And yeah, that's great. So Julie, point number 11.
Point number 11 is investors. So join your local investors clubs. All of you have these. Some of you have multiples of these. You can find this usually on meetup.com. I know meetup.com sounds like a dating site. It's not. It's all kinds of different meetings. And one of those you can find is investors. Also, private Facebook groups in your town for where you work. Those are that's a great source for investor groups too.
Private Facebook groups are definitely the first place you should go. Meetup.com is going to be, for the most part, people are forming private Facebook groups around these things.
WhatsApp groups and things like
right.
that too.
So you're going to go to Facebook. You're going to put in whatever your interests are. Obviously, with this, with this point, it's going to be local investors, and a lot of them are going to be closed groups. So you're going to have to ask for access, but definitely do that.
That's right. So you're going to then know who's looking for what property and which investors are likely to sell. This will also give you insider information about pocket listings, which can benefit your buyers. Now, I want to expand this point just for a second. One of our coaching clients, Gray, who lives out in New Jersey, one of the great things that he does, and in Ocean City, there's a lot of older property, right? That's either getting torn down, rehabbed, flipped, the back lot's getting developed. There's all kinds of this type of thing. So he will discover a great investment deal through his investor network, and then he will take that opportunity to his past client center of influence database and say, this is something that I think that is a moneymaker who is interested. So he takes this point number 11 plus point number 1 from a couple podcasts ago talking to your past clients, and basically plays matchmaker, and it works really well for him.
Well, I'll build on that a little bit, Julie. There are agents that are making a fortune from doing exactly Julie's point number 11 here with regards to investors, and what they're doing is a lot of investors. Their game is obviously to try to buy houses wholesale, fix them up, and sell them for retail.
Yep.
That means they have to be making lots and lots of offers on properties that many of the sellers maybe want to sell, but not willing to sell at the lower price that the investor needs to pay in order to make a margin on the house, right? So what happens to all of those motivated sellers that turn that investor down to wholesale the house? Those could be that's another great source of listings leads for you. And again, you're going to find when you start connecting with these investors, the one thing that's nice about an investor is, generally speaking, once they've made a little bit of money off one, house flip or whatever, they're addicted to it.
That's very true. And prices are still rising. It's still possible to do in this market. I was thinking about the Kenmore team. One of the things that they use their investors for is their own investing. They'll talk and they'll take a few listings. To your point, these investors don't buy everything that's an opportunity, right? And some of them are running their own ads, right? So they're already lead generating. You don't have to pay for any of that. They're not going to actually buy everything. So the Kenmores every now and then they'll come across an opportunity that they personally want to buy. So it's a great opportunity for some of you personally to build your rental portfolio or do your own flips. Okay, so all good opportunity. Point number 12, door knocking. Now, this is not at the top of the list because it generally takes more contacts to take a listing, but it is still effective when you're consistent. Door knocking can help you become more comfortable speaking with people about real estate, and many times you'll be at the right place at the right time and indeed take listings from being there. Before you go door knocking, choose your neighborhood wisely. Does it turn over very much? What's the average sale price? What's currently active, pending, and recently sold? What's being built around the neighborhood? Is there new construction nearby? Become the go-to neighborhood specialist and use good scripts at the door. Start with your own neighborhood since you already know it really well. And of course, refer to our recent podcast series about door knocking, Tim. That was one of our most popular series, is the door knocking, and a lot of our coaching clients really love it. That'll give you some more help, more systems. Be sure to ask your Harris certified coach for additional support. It is a hot topic in Premier Coaching.
Let's string some ideas together. Do an open house, generate a lot of buyer leads. Get a really, pre-qualify all those buyer leads, really drill down, know what they're after. And if they want to live in that community or adjacent communities, that's fine. Door knock into those communities with your list of prospective buyers that are looking actively in those particular markets. That is going to be a very powerful way for you to establish yourself instantaneously with that prospective seller that you are a very proactive agent. And you will find, especially this time of year, you will discover the sellers that were planning on putting their houses on the market, air quotes, in the spring, whatever that is. So you might actually start pulling out listing leads that would have been, looking to list in, say, 3 or 4 months. They're going to be willing to actually list their house now. Now, if they still want to hold the house off the market until 3 or 4 months for whatever reason, that's fine. But now at least you have a listing lead. This is you closing the loop and being proactive about lead generation. And if you think, and Julie's point with regards to sale prices, if you've got somebody that's moving up to, say, $1 million and they're moving out of something that's $800,000, they're going to sell that $800,000 house with you as soon as you find them something in XYZ subdivision they want for $1 million. Well, you're going to now door knock. You're going to find a few, potential houses for that prospective, the buyer who's also your seller. But what happens to the seller of the house that you are now selling? They're also going to be a client, and then another one, and another one. You guys can set yourselves up for amazing 2024. It's your best year ever if you're proactive with some of these ideas.
Well, it's interesting because you just bullet pointed one of our coaching clients, Kristen in Texas. That is just about exactly how she is not just on track. She's blowing through her goal this year. I think her goal is 500,000. I think she's going to end up possibly close to 800. Doing what you just said, okay, with the accountability of coaching, with the support of coaching, the making sure that she's not just on track, she's starting to get ahead. She's using the combination of all of these points. What do your buyers want? Well, where did your buyers come from? From an open house. Why did you get them from your open house? Because you had the listing, right? So one thing leads to the next. Then she goes door knocking for what they want. She identifies that. That person has to sell. Lather, rinse, repeat. The advantage that she has now is that all of that hard work she did, especially over the summer, discovering who wants to move up, who wants to build, who's relocating, who's, becoming an empty nester, who just wants a better view. She's got one person that just wants to be on the lake, right? So she has that all organized, and now she's matchmaking, and she's in a good price range so that it's very much worth her time to do things like door knocking and open houses and lead follow-up.
Isn't she in Dallas?
Fort Worth, yeah.
Fort Worth, yeah. Yeah, outside Dallas. So the moral of the story here is everyone else goes digital. Everyone else, all your competitors, agents, are hiding behind keyboards and doing their TikTok videos and hoping that they get a lead from Instagram and all these other things. All that stuff has a place. But if you are serious about being successful and you don't want to wait around for those things to work or not work or never work, why don't you take some proactive measures and go out there and find your own business? That is what the best version of you as a real estate sales professional, that's what you're going to have to do, because otherwise, you're going to miss 2024. You're going to be waiting around for all the passive lead generation, the marketing stuff to finally bring a lead to you, or even worse, you're going to go agree to pay 40 or 50% referral fee for a buyer lead. We just gave you a very simple way for you to generate leads now. Why wouldn't you do it? You answer that question yourself. Julie, next point.
Okay, so we just gave you 12 points over the past 4 podcasts where you are leading your plan to make at least $100,000 in the first 100 days of 2024. You're leading with lead generation. You're not going to make your $100,000 minimum if you don't have any leads. So we've given you those 12. Are you convinced that you personally can make at least 100,000 in 100 days. Well, for many of you, you're probably feeling really comfortable with at least 2 or 3 of the 12 sources of leads that we presented to you. So start with those and drill down to increase your contacts and your level of skill on those lead generators. If you need scripts and skills, you've come to the right place. Just ask for help. Waiting is not profitable. Now, I have to address this because, excuse me, I can just hear them. I can sense them.
Oh, Julie, what if I generate too much business?
Exactly. If you're freaking out because that's more business than you've ever had, you can't imagine managing all of that. Well, make sure you have a transaction coordinator start with to help you if you don't already.
Well, before you just say that, because that's just a big bunch of, a whoop ass, frankly, if agents aren't ready for it.
True.
Our prescription, it depends on your price point.
Yes.
For our suggestion when you hire a transaction coordinator, and again, it depends on your price point. If you have a high sale price, then you can, move this whole plan forward. But generally speaking, if you've done 3 closings per month for at least 3 months in a row, you're ready to basically take on somebody who's going to be a fixed cost. Okay? Yeah. Now, that transaction coordinator should pay for themselves from the transaction fees that you're charging your buyers and your sellers. The transaction coordinator should not be paid from the actual commissions, which should be your profit. So charge a transaction fee. You can charge it to both buyers and sellers. Second time I said it, hopefully it's, you guys are understanding.
If you don't know how to do it, join Premier Coaching because the coaches all know how to teach that.
Exactly. I mean, some of you are charging too little, frankly, in transaction fees. We have agents, clients that are charging over $1,000 in addition to commissions as a transaction fee. That's how you pay for staff. But we do not want you taking on fixed cost as a team member unless you have the consistent
right.
Proving to yourself you consistently generate the revenue. Now also I would suggest you use a contract transaction coordinator, and there are some amazing ones that are out there. We talk about that in Premier Coaching. In other words, you only use a it's not a fixed cost. You're not going to have to pay them 50.
There's no salary.
There's no salary, right? Yeah. Oh, I'll have to say this too. I talk with agents on such a regular basis now who are coming off this big boom market, and they're always basically, you can sense their financial concerns, and it's normal and it's natural. In this past market, some of you have been making decisions to overpay staff, and I'm just going to call it as it is. Some of you are paying your buyer's agents 75%. Some of you are paying your transaction coordinators a salary plus a percent of each closing. All of you need to realize that you're overpaying for that help. You are. You need to use this market as an excuse to right size, scale down your staff, especially fixed cost staff members, and figure out a different way. I had a call maybe 2 weeks ago, and this actually you told me about this. I mean, all my calls and our conversations intermingle, right? Where you were telling me you had a conversation with an agent, I think it may be a new coaching client, where you're going through all their expenses without mentioning names.
Yeah.
Describe that.
Well, they were going, I think really what we're doing is we're comparing previous, and many of you can relate to this. What was your previous hottest year? A lot of you, if you're being honest, it was 2021.
Yeah, for sure.
Might have been 2022, at least the first half. But for most of you, it was either 2020 or 2021 when there was FOMO, fear of missing out. We had outrageously low interest rates, and the entire world wanted to transact with you.
That's right.
Okay? Now, some of you...
By the way, the COVID shot's been proven to make people want to buy real estate.
Oh, go get a booster then.
That's right.
There you go.
That's another, that's something that they didn't disclose, but that is one of the
Maybe
effects
they did, retrospect. Maybe looking back, we'll discover that. I don't know.
Exactly.
But the point is that, and I understand this because you guys were doing tons and tons of transactions. It was very competitive. You were in the thick of it all the time. And in your minds, you normalized that. And you normalized the momentum of the market acting like that, and you started overpaying for buyer agents, you started overpaying for staff, you started putting transaction coordinators on salary, and now, 2023 is going to go down as the toughest year in real estate in terms of number of sales, and make sure that you're separating that, not because of distress, but because the number of sales was the lowest since 2009 when we were missing an entire class of buyers that had been short sales and foreclosures, okay? So it was a tough year. And I read this on the agent boards all the time. And I do hear it from especially incoming coaching clients that have really woken up to the fact that, guess what? It's not going to be like that. We're not going back to that kind of easy momentum, right? What's the saying about when the tide goes out, the water goes down, we see who's been swimming without swimsuits or what, I don't know.
That's pretty close.
Something like
that.
Okay.
A bunch of naked people, basically, is what you're describing.
The tides rise all ships and then it goes out and now you're all naked.
But Julie, that's what I was talking about. When I have these calls with these brokers and these teams, I'm not going to have this conversation unless they want to have the conversation.
Sure.
But I have yet to have a conversation with anybody with a team. I'll say definitely in the last year, but maybe even the last 2 years, where they actually know their numbers. Now, they might know their overall numbers, or they might know their numbers of leads, or the number of all that type of stuff. They're going to know funnel stuff, but what they don't know is their net profit. Mm-hmm. And so, and here they are coming off what, I would say maybe 2 years ago, we ended what was a long, very crazy
frenzy
boom market, right? Mm-hmm. Now we're going to be entering a new one. We think 2024 is going to be the start of what will be probably the best 10, maybe even more years in real estate in the history of real estate.
The beginning of it, yes.
Listen to our podcast from 2 weeks ago. We were doing our prediction show, and you guys will feel the same way. But what I've learned, and I already knew this from coaching, but what hopefully I'm, effectively expressing to all of you, is many of you, without knowing it, are running nonprofit businesses. In other words, you will take let's say you did 300 transactions, and we see this a lot. You divide how many of those are buyers versus sellers? 50-50, 150 buyers, 150 sellers. On the buyer side of the transactions, on the buyer side of the business, of those 150 deals, you need to do a standalone profit and loss on just those buyer sides. And let's say you had 5 buyer agents, you need to do a profit and loss on those 5 buyer agents.
Not the blended version.
Not the blended. So the blended is what people have been trained to do, but it also hides the problems in the business. So for example, I want you to do a profit and loss on each of your buyer agents, because what you're going to find, guaranteed, is one of the buyer agents is doing a great job. 2 of them are doing an okay job, and 3 of them are actually, you're losing money on every deal they do, because the amount of deals that they close versus the number of leads that you're giving them and the amount of money you spend trying to keep them, afloat is way out of whack. But why do you keep them? Because you have a sense of community, because you have this sense of loyalty to them, because you have all of these, I think, well-intended emotional feelings towards them. But what you've got to accept in this new year, use this as an opportunity to hard reset some of those decisions. All of those people have potential, probably. You want to keep them all as part of your business, probably. But you're going to have to retool the way you go about paying them, so you're actually making a profit from those transactions. Otherwise, you're going to have 10 years, 20 years past you, and you're going to say, what the hell do I have to show for all these billions of houses I sold? And the answer is going to be very little, because you gave all the money away.
Well, that's right. And as you were talking, and I think you're very articulate on that, because you have so many calls with agents. And I think you're right. We don't just jump into that with you guys. It's a tough conversation. You have to be, wanting that help, right? So one of the things that I've worked with my elite coaching clients is if it's going to be a team member that you are committed to keeping, and some of these are family teams, and, there's different versions of teams, right? You want to make sure that they are all rowers and not just riders.
All right,
what are they doing? Every single person on your team has their own center of influence, for example.
So Julie and I talk about this concept in our book. And the idea is, imagine a boat. Okay, the boat is full of you and your staff. If you're just an individual agent, hopefully this is a good lesson for you. So when you start adding staff, assuming you do, and we're not necessarily saying the only way up the mountain to be successful in real estate is have a big team. That's absolutely not true. You could be fabulously successful in real estate with just you and maybe 2 assistants. Just keep that in mind.
Talk about that in the book too.
Right, exactly. So the concept is you have a boat. In the boat, you have some people, especially if you're following some of these, team models that everyone's been following for a long period of time since the 90s. You're going to have some people that are considered support staff. Those are the riders. They don't know they don't create leads. They don't create money. They're just an expense. And they're a fixed expense, which are the worst kind. And then you have the rowers. You're a rower. Your buyer agents who are a rower. Maybe you have a listing specialist that's a rower. I mean, when you want to scale up a team, that's part of what we teach you guys when you get into the elite coaching levels. So what you need to do in a market like this is you're going to need to realize that those fixed costs, the people that aren't generating revenue, they probably need to be retasked. I'm trying to say it.
Yes.
At the very least, which means you're going to have to take what that person does and maybe move them to a rower. If they're unwilling to become a rower, so for example, let's say you are selling 300 houses a year, and let's say you have 3 transaction coordinators, which probably is about 1 too many. You can probably take that transaction coordination. I told you how to pay for them through transaction fees. Why don't you have those transaction coordinators start picking up a buyer now and then so they at least can cover their expense?
Well, they can prospect their own center of influence and bring something to the team as well. mean, I have several that I'm coaching where that's one of their new requirements going into 2024 is that you need to be bringing listings in and they get bonused a little something. And the rule is if you, the team leader, would not have otherwise had it, if it weren't for them, they get a little something extra for being proactive, for talking, for prospecting.
Stop giving all your money away. Yeah. Stop giving all your money away on the buyer side. That's really the bottom line. So have a real, again, the beauty of the real estate treasure map and the beauty of this time of year, if you're willing to, have the hard conversation and drill down on really what you want to be doing differently in your business. If, how Julie and I are preparing to do this very thing. We talked about this on the podcast, but it's a fun concept and we actually do it. Imagine you're sitting on the beach, which, we are. And let's say you're going to ask yourself, what are the things that you've accomplished in the last 12 months that you're most proud of? I mean, there's different ways to phrase it, but I'll tell you what the secondary thing is. So there's 5 areas of life that most people agree that are the most important. And they are, Julie Harris.
Thanks for putting me on the spot.
Of course.
Also, that's a future podcast next week specifically, but family, financial, physical, mental or spiritual, and educational.
There you go. So those 5 categories. Now, what we're going to do, and this is what Julie and I do, this is what we do with our coaching clients, this is what you should be doing with your family, doing with yourself, is you're going to then ask yourself, what am I most proud of that I've accomplished in the last 12 months regards to physical? Then you're going to say financial, then you say spiritual, then you say family, then you say educational. Now, you might not have anything that you're particularly proud of, let's say, in the, physical realm. Maybe you were just maintaining, and that in itself is something you should be proud of, frankly. Or maybe you're not really focused on spiritual, or just, you get it? We're not suggesting that you have to have a big damn long list under each of those categories. Matter of fact, depending on your age, frankly, you should be primarily focusing on, most of you should be primarily focusing on financial and family. As you get older, people always gravitate more towards spiritual, which obviously makes sense. But the one thing also, educational. That's where a lot of people drop the ball. A lot of you are operating on things that you read years ago, things that you've been, made sense years ago that don't work now and don't work at the same level, but you've not taken the opportunity to say, you know what? Those postcards that I've been doing, those things, they kind of suck. I mean, they're not working like they used to, but they did work 5 years ago. Well, because they worked 5 years ago doesn't mean they're going to work again in the future. And, those are the types of things, that's the blessing of this time of year. So, a lot of these conversations I'm having with agents are because a lot of them are thinking about moving over to eXp Realty. And if you're looking to move up and increase your potential in the real estate industry, it is the next natural progression in your careers. And I had a lot of conversations with small and medium-sized brokerages. A lot of them are worried about the commission sharing lawsuit.
Yep.
They're wanting to have a proven path forward. Those are the conversations that I love having because I'm helping folks and I feel like, I'm making a great impact on their lives. If you are ready to take the next natural step in your career and become really partner with Julie and I at eXp Realty, we'd love the right to be your eXp Realty sponsors. And let's start out with having a conversation. You can text me directly at 512-758-0206. And if you're an individual agent or if you're a big team or a big brokerage, let's have the conversation. And at the very least, you're going to know what you're saying no to if you choose to stay at your current situation.
Yes, and I have to point out, that especially, for everybody, but especially those teams and brokerages, if you're somebody that does need help drilling down on the finances, that is a confidential conversation.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So I had a conversation with someone the other day, and I won't mention their name.
Right.
And the person, I asked, let's just start out with the very basic. I said, how much money did you earn in the last 12 months? The answer was $500,000.
Yep.
What's your commission split at your broker? 90-10. Is there a cap? No. I didn't ask about royalty fees or added fees, all the rest of it. I just stuck on the 10% of 500 grand, which is 50 grand. And I said, well, I have great news for you. If you were at eXp, you would have your cap would have been $16,000, and because you would have qualified for Icon, you would have earned the right to basically have your the $16,000 rewarded back to you in the form of EXPI stock.
Yes.
At eXp,
making you expense free.
Exactly. In other words, eXp is paying you to be a top producing agent there.
Yes.
You're not paying your broker.
And you base that math based on the production they're already doing.
Exactly. Yeah. And which most people are going to be doing a lot more next year.
Sure.
And so if you're rolling into next year, and so I'm going to explain what I just said. It's called the Icon program. So what it is after you pay in your cap of 16 grand, do you sell an additional 20 houses or have a total GCI of 500 grand, and this person qualified based on the GCI, then you qualify to be essentially to earn the Icon Award, and then you get $12,000 award, and then there's two extra things you do for the additional $4,000,
which are easy.
Yeah, they're easy. They're basically really contributing to EXP, doing an educational event, things like that, online in EXP world or whatever. But the moral of the story is you get your $16,000 back in the form of EXPI stock. Now, some of you are thinking, well, $16,000, no big deal. Well, no, maybe not in your world. But guess what? 50 grand is. And if you're planning on being at your current broker for the next 5 years and earning the same amount of money, that's $250,000 that you basically have given away versus had you been at EXP.
That you could have invested.
Well, they would have invested for you. It's for savings.
That too.
Exactly.
It's all good.
There's so many reasons why you guys need to open your eyes and treat this time of year as an opportunity to really be honest with yourself about what's working and what's not. Again, Treasure Map is a great source for sort of having something that's disinterested to bounce your ideas off of. Mm-hmm. And then when you are being honest and you find something that's not working in your life, you could be caught in a coaching relationship and you're saying to yourself, my business did not progress for, squat in the last 12 months. It's time for you to upgrade your coaching relationship. If maybe you're in maybe you're going to the gym and you've been using a trainer and you become buddies with the trainer and the trainer's not really, you're
just talking the whole time.
You're just talking the whole time. Well, time to upgrade the trainer. So look for the areas that you're being complacent. And a backward trick for doing this is ask yourself what you're avoiding the most. So whatever you're avoiding the most, and a lot of us, it's financial conversations, right? That's what you need to be putting your priorities on. Or it's, doing the physical stuff. Going back to that question about what are the things you're most proud of having accomplished in the last 12 months. Because the second part of that is, the second question is, all right, so Julie, these are the things that you said you're most proud of having accomplished in the last 12 months. Now, what are the things 12 months from now that when we're sitting probably in this very spot on the beach, we're not on the beach, by the way, but you
it's
guys
raining today. But.
Exactly. It is raining today. So 12 months from now, what are the things that you want to be looking back upon as 2024 is becoming 2025 that you want to be most proud of? That's how you really get at the heart of what's important to you with regards to goal setting. And it also will help you to realize the difference between a goal and a dream. I mean, a goal is a dream with an action plan, where a lot of you have gotten accustomed to is just writing down these dreams and creating dream boards. I mean, it's called a dream board. A goal is something that you say you're going to actually accomplish. Here's the plan. The plan includes accountability. Here are the dates when said goal is going to be accomplished. Here are the milestones that are going to be set along the way. That is how all of you know that you've always accomplished things. A lot of us in our lives have had other people that have forced us to do that, right? Maybe it was a coach. Maybe it was a school teacher. Maybe it was your parent. Maybe it was a boss. Well, you're self-employed. You're going to have to do it for yourself. And that's the first part of, becoming a premier coaching client is completing the real estate treasure map. Anything else you'd like to say, guys?
I'm glad that you buttoned it up with the treasure map because it does get back to that. And the thing with the treasure map is it's very, very personal to you. This is not something you can just Google and do some boilerplate thing that you found online.
Yep.
This forces you to be introspective, not just about your finances, though that is very critical, but also about what's important to you. Why'd you get into real estate in the first place? How is that going? What is your plan to move forward? Real estate is the biggest blessing. And go you for being licensed. There's nobody saying that you can't sell anymore. There's nobody saying, I'm sorry, your job only pays X. You're going to have to do something else if you want to, earn more money. Or you're going to have to move across the country. Or you're going to have to do this or that or the other, right? It's a huge blessing. So give yourself the gift of paying attention and upgrading everything before it's next year.
What was that movie we were watching last night with Eddie Murphy?
I didn't catch the title of that Christmas movie.
Yeah, I think it was on Netflix or it may have been on Apple TV.
Uh-huh.
It actually was pretty good.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, well, so in the movie, the Eddie Murphy character gets fired from his job.
Oh, yeah.
And Zoe didn't really know what the hell that meant. So she started asking me about that. Like, are you and mom are going to get fired for your job? And I said, Zoe, we can't be fired from our job, except if we stop working, then we fire ourselves. Yep. And then she thought about it for a while. And she said, well, you better not stop working.
She puts things together pretty quickly these days.
Isn't that funny?
That's right. But, back to real estate, right? You're either self-employed or self-unemployed based on you. every single day, starting right now.
This is going to be your best year ever. 100% of you listening right now have everything it takes to make 2024 your best year ever. For sure. The wind is going to be at your backs with regards to the market. There's so much pent-up demand. The demographics are on your side.
Yep.
Do not allow yourself to be pulled down in any negative, mindset rabbit holes. You got to be leading into next year with the belief, the absolute core level belief that you are in the right place at the right time. Now it's time for you to take the right actions. And you know what to do, right?
That's right.
You guys have a fantastic day. We'll talk to you on the show tomorrow.
Hello, thank you for having watched this video. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
That's right. And don't forget to hit that like button, leave your comments and questions below, and we will get right back with you.
Thank you for watching this video. And remember to watch the next one. You're going to love that one.